Excellence is a set of research initiatives in various industry-relevant domains, wherein our students, with the guidance of their respective faculty, obtain not only in-depth theoretical knowledge, but also real-time exposure through projects, surveys, and small-scale immersion programs. Today, we have with us two very esteemed panelists, whom we shall introduce shortly. But before that, let us have a look at a short video of CBS and the legacy of Shiksha Foundation. Can we have the video?
Then you are welcome to Calcutta Business School. Center of Excellence. Centered on excellence.
It all started in the year 1920 when some eminent industrialists of Kolkata founded the Marwari Balika Vidyalaya. Later, in 1954, Sri Shiksha School was founded, and in 1955 Sri Shiksha College came into being with the objective of further propagating quality education to girls. All these institutions have continued to excel under the management of the Shiksha Foundation.
It has been guided by industrialists like President Mr. S.K. Birla, Director Emeritus, Birla Brothers Private Limited, Mr. Siddharth Birla, Vice President, Mr. G.K. Khaitan, Trustee and President of Shiksha College, Mr. R.S. Goenka, Trustee and MD of Imami Group, and many other reputed industrialists. The Secretary General of the Foundation is Mrs. Brotuti Bhattacharya.
Greetings. I would like to speak a few words about our institution, the Shiksha Foundation. The year was 1920, when some of my forefathers thought that female education needed to be propagated much more actively than was the custom in those days. And we donated from our family 2 buildings in the heart of Bada Bazaar for the girl child to be educated there. That institution is still working. The latest addition to our bouquet of institutions has been the Calcutta Business School, which was started a few years ago on a 15-acre plot of land and not very far away from IIM Calcutta.
Calcutta Business School offers an AICTE approved, autonomous, 2-year full-time residential program on postgraduate diploma in management, majoring in subjects like finance, marketing, IT, operations and human resource. But it's the unique cluster of courses that sets it apart. Interactive and intuitive games like management game and stock market simulation game. It also puts heavy emphasis on data handling and business analytics and uses databases and software like CMIE Prowess, Metastock, R, and SAP.
Kolkata is the city of joy. It is the cultural capital of India, a city which has its soulful embodiment of culture, love, mystery, respect and enthusiasm. A city that upholds a perfect juxtaposition between the old world and the modern one. It has given us many Nobel laureates over the years. It has iconic institutes like the Calcutta University, the National Library, Presidency University, Bishwabharati, IIM Calcutta, and many such legendary institutes. Calcutta Business School's AICTE approved PGDM program is carrying forward this rich legacy of Kolkata.
Yeah.
I now request the Principal of Calcutta Business School, Dr. Pinaki Ranjan Bhattacharya, to please say a few words and set the tone for the day. Sir, are you there?
Yeah, he's there. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think, am I audible now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sengupta. Respected Mr. Saurav Ghosh, Advisor, Shikshaten Foundation. Respected Mrs. Prathati Bhattacharya, Secretary General, Shikshaten Foundation. Dr. Nayan Mitra and Dr. Sandip Chatterjee, our panelists for today's session. Professor Siddhartha Sengupta, moderator for today's session. Faculty and staff members of Calcutta Business School, students of Calcutta Business School, and all other esteemed participants. It is my privilege and pleasure to welcome you all to the Knowledge Series webinar, Social Ethics and Green Consumption. In today's world, social ethics is very, very important, both at workplace and even at home. But unfortunately, many a times we forget the importance of this social ethics issue. By social ethics, we mean citizens must respect another's property, must respect others' choices, must respect others' lives. Also, people should put their family and friends, their needs before their own. In management theory, we call it that, taking care of the group interest rather than the single interest. That is very, very important today, which is very, very relevant in today's world. On the other hand, green consumption is again a buzzword which we have heard for the last few years. Of course, it was there since 1990 when Michael Polonsky started it. But today, it has become very important for all of us to understand. In India, it has gained a wide momentum in the last few years, but in many states and cities, it is still found that it is not practiced the way it should have been done. We need to be a responsible citizen and see that we do not pollute our environment. The basic fundamentals of green consumption is reduce, recycle, and reuse. I doubt how much we follow this. So I would request the panelists today to emphasize on these two issues and take the webinar forward. My thanks to all of you for coming here. Since it is a virtual mode, I would request Dr. Chatterjee and Dr. Mitra both to visit our campus once this pandemic is over and meet our students, meet us, and enlighten us with your knowledge. Thank you.
So as mentioned by Principal Sir, we have as a moderator today, Professor Siddhartha Sengupta. He's a core faculty member of Calcutta Business School, Department of Operations Management. Sir, I request you to please start today's session.
Yeah, thank you, Madhusri. Thank you so much, ma'am. Right. So before I start, I again welcome our learned two panelists. I'll talk about them brief because if I start introducing them properly, it will take a whole lot of the time. So instead of that, I'll be very brief. Dr. Sandip Chatterjee is a neurosurgeon, and he is the professor and head of neurosurgery, Vivekananda Institute of Medical Sciences, Kolkata. He is the chair of Education Commission, International Society of Pediatric Neurosurgery, chair of Education Commission, Asia Australasian Society of Pediatric Neurosurgery. I can go on and on because he's associated with many associations like this across the globe. But at the same time, I would also like to mention two things, which he is a very prolific debater, very well-known debater, and I have heard him twice at Calcutta Club. And he is also a wildlife enthusiast. He's a member of the board of the wildlife sanctuaries, and he's, as I said, and he is one of the founding members of Calcutta Debating Society. Welcome, Dr. Chatterjee. Welcome you to this webinar.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but I'm not visible. For
it's
some
okay.
reason,
It's okay. I think we can. Yeah, we would like to hear from you. So now we have Dr. Nayan Mitra. She is a founder director of Sustainable Advancements OPC Private Limited. Dr. Nayan Mitra is an international authority on the subject of sustainability, CSR, and responsible leadership. Her company is a woman-owned company that broadly aims to promote sustainable development goals, SDGs, through advocacy and implementation. Under her leadership, Sustainable Advancements has established itself as a holistic institution of international and national repute in the area of promotion of sustainable development goals, both in advocacy, training, consultancy, research, and also in actioning responsibilities through projects like initiation of urban forest art restored to Alna, which is the responsible products brand of sustainable advancements. Right, welcome. I can go on and again. There are many things I can talk about her, but I would like to keep it brief for you would like to listen to them and have some time to listen to them. So, Dr. Mitra, welcome to the webinar, and we're so happy that you have been able to make time, and also Dr. Chatterjee, we are so happy that you have been able to make time from your busy schedule. Right. Now, going back, I just wanted to say about some little bit of our principal has already said that, but a little bit of ethics, like ethical values and behavior, as we know, may be abstract, but are refined and conceptualized by real life experiences. And we need to know what is the right thing to do and what the moral agent should do. Since the ethical values and principles responds to the actual practice of life and to the needs of humans in the society. So with this, I would request Dr. Nayan Mitra to start her talk. And of course, I would, at this juncture, Dr. Chatterjee, we always say that ladies first. So I thought I would request Dr. Nayan Mitra to deliver her talk first.
Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, for having me here, and also, for providing me this opportunity to speak about something that I'm very, very passionate about. To the extent that I have to start my own company to talk about social ethics and green consumption. Thank you, Mr. Sandip. So I'll start with social ethics. So Dr. Bhattacharya had already discussed what social ethics is all about. But from social ethics, I will like to go on to speaking about green consumption and greenwashing in the space of green consumption, because green consumption is something which we do talk about a lot, but greenwashing is something which we do not speak so much, whereas that's also a concept that one has to be more careful than green consumption. So, when we discuss about social ethics, Mr. Sandip, I'd just like to ask you, would you like to ask me any question? Or is it a free format? Should I continue with?
Yeah, no, I just, as you started, the first question I would have asked, both of you, what is social ethics, basically? What do you mean? And how far does it concern the environment, economy, society all together?
Right, Mr. Sandip. Thank you for this question. So basically, social ethics is the systematic reflection of the moral dimensions of social structures, systems, issues, and communities. And when we talk about communities, then we not only talk about only the social community, but the ecosystem of the social community, which means it could be a person, a group, an institution, a country, or the global community as a whole. So, in other words, social ethics in its largest sense deals with what is right or good and wrong or bad behavior in a social unit. And as I mentioned, this social unit can again be, different concepts that we can take, from person to group to institutions, to country, or the global community. Dr. Bhattacharya spoke about friends and family. So that's as much as a social unit where social ethics should be followed as in the professional sphere. Yes, Mr. Sengupta?
Yeah. No. See, the thing is that you are in the sustainability space. You have talked about, that urban forest. So this sustainability side, what does this sector face the issues of social ethics? I mean, how do you relate these two? Like you are talking about sustainability and at the same time the social ethics in which is, how can we be ethical towards sustainability? And what are the ethical steps to maintain sustainability?
Right. So when we talk about sustainability, it's one of the most prevalent sectors where ethics is compromised. You will hear every other company, and here I'm emphasizing on, because yours is a B school, I'm emphasizing on companies and I'm emphasizing on communities who are consumers. And those are the social units I'm taking here. You will hear every other company to be claiming to be sustainable without telling us how. There is a gap of verifiable data. You must, and because we don't know what do you mean by sustainability, because sustainability concept, it has 5 P's in that. So we have people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. If we are violating even one of them, and we are saying that we are sustainable organization, or we are having a sustainability in our product or process, we will be violating, or we would be doing greenwashing. So we cannot say anything or claim anything unless it is verifiable. An example would be, we might have a sustainable product, but our process is not sustainable. Okay, so we are doing we have human rights violation, we have other things, and we talk about being a sustainable company, sustainable product, then it doesn't work that way. I'll give you an example here. So one of the examples is, I'll take the company Gap. Now, a lot of Gap is a huge name, right? So it is considered to be a responsible company in the US. People love Gap products, and Gap is also doing a lot of CSR in the US. But when it comes to its supply chain sustainability, it is not doing the right thing, because most of its supply chain sustainability lies in countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, where there is a gross human rights violation while they're producing their products. So how can, if Gap today says that I'm a sustainable company, then that has to be questioned. And this is where the concept of greenwashing comes.
Yeah. One more question to this effect,
Right.
So when you said that Gap is getting your products made in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and maybe India as well, so in that case, in many cases, you are saying that there have been violation of human rights, right?
Right.
Now the point is, a Gap, as I know, is a fashion company, fashion apparels. Yeah.
Right.
Now in fashion apparel, I just take only one point, that you are talking about the child labor, right? It happened actually. In reality, it happened with IKEA. There's a complaint against IKEA that you are using child labor to produce your products. How is it possible that you are claiming that you are not abusing human rights? There is no human rights violation. And to that, they said they did go into the fact, but one of the logic, I mean, it not that it was told to the commission or somehow, but the lady who was in charge of the outsourcing, and she says that if I don't allow these children to work, then what happens? These children will go back to more hazardous work, because they come here for food, they come here for their living. So what she did, she started a schooling system that after the work is over, they are schooled, they are fed, some living arrangements are made. So, I mean, I thought I will share with you. This is one of the things that I came to know while reading an IKEA article.
Right. I agree with you, Mr. Sengupta, because there are few things here, right? There are yes, abuses and there are corrective actions, right?
Right.
So when the abuse happens, it's abuse. When the corrective action happens, then yes, it's a corrective action. So
right.
In the case that you just mentioned is once the abuse was made, then there was an acknowledgement and then there was a corrective action, right?
Right.
So those are three different things. So yes, I would really, IKEA in fact is taking quite a lot of effort in circularity, in other spaces of sustainability as well. It's an excellent example that you mentioned, Mr. Sengupta.
Right. Yeah. Let's go ahead with you said about greenwashing.
Right.
So we say that, like in my class particularly, I say that there are products that you find which are costlier, the same item. Say particularly, let's talk about LED bulbs.
Right.
LED bulbs, you'll find bulbs where it is a particular company, let me not mention that. They said that it is manufactured under sustainable conditions or environment-friendly conditions, something of that, and which are costlier by about, say, 25, 30, or maybe 40% compared to the others where that tagline is not there. So normally many of us tend to buy and go and buy that costlier version. But now coming to greenwashing, I think that's a very something we need to understand about greenwashing, the little that I know of. So let us please apprise us on that.
Well, again, I'm coming to that social unit within the social ethics, where we are talking about companies and we are talking about consumers as communities.
Right.
So basically, when we are talking about greenwashing, I can color it. I can speak about lovely terms or not so lovely terms, but in black and white, it is a deception tactic. Okay. So why is it a deception tactic? Whether it is intentional or accidental, it is employed by companies that can cause customers to believe its products, services, or mission are more environmentally impactful than is true. Like you mentioned about LED, but yes, there are certain certifications that comes with LED bulbs. But apart from that, greenwashing is the process of conveying a false impression and providing misleading information about how a company's products are more environmentally sound. It is considered as an unsubstantiated claim to deceive consumers into believing that a company's products are environmentally friendly. So that is what greenwashing is all about. And why is this happening right now? As you mentioned, that there is a huge shift that the society is seeing towards environmentally conscious products. And with this shift in consumer preference towards more environmentally friendly goods or services, firms that do not incorporate environmentally friendly practices in their business model are being forced, or they are taking the easy way out into creating this greenwashing, or creating an understanding amongst its consumers to feel that they are in a space where they are being environmentally friendly, or they are being in the sustainability space.
Right. So now the point is that once you have told us something about green washing,
right?
So what would be the next steps then to avoid greenwashing? Because it's not right. It's ethically not right. Greenwashing, as you said, as I understand from you.
Yeah.
But how to prevent them? Because like many, they are. I mean, it's said that we're talking about a water source in Fiji. So. Fiji water, it's a big case study. So they were drawing water from the aquifers, and how do you replenish the aquifers? And with the water that has been collected over so many thousands of years. So
Yes.
I don't know, how do you prevent greenwashing to that?
Yeah, again, excellent example that you provide, Mr. Sandip. One, I'll also, add on to some of your examples. And very large companies like Hindustan Unilever.
Yeah.
It continues to talk about various climate-friendly initiatives and sustainable production, whereas it has been responsible for one of the worst environmental disasters. The company, many of us don't know about it, set up a thermometer factory in the Kodaikanal, which is in South India, which dealt with toxic mercury, which they dumped in the Kodaikanal's environment. And it was long back. In 2001, mercury was found in Kodaikanal's Pambar Shola forest, and many workers of the factory were directly and permanently affected.
My God.
While Unilever shut the factory, it never did much to make up for what it had done to Kodaikanal's environment and its people. Another example would be like Coca-Cola, right? On the beverage firm's website and its advertising campaigns, it claims that our planet matters. But Coca-Cola operates 58 water-intensive bottling plants in India itself. In the village of in a village in Kerala, persistent droughts have dried up groundwater and local wells, forcing many residents to rely on water supplies trucked in daily by the government.
Right.
So, and not only that, to make matters worse, Coca-Cola at the Central Pollution Control Board in 2003 found that sludge from Coca-Cola's Uttar Pradesh factory was contaminated with high levels of cadmium, lead, and chromium. And not only that, to make matters worse, Coca-Cola was offloading cadmium-laden waste sludge as free fertilizer to tribal farmers who live near the plant. We all know about the Volkswagen example, and it's pretty in recent times that Volkswagen released an ad campaign to debunk the fact that diesel was bad and that it used a technology where it emitted fewer pollutants. And later on, we found out that Volkswagen emitted pollutants at levels up to 40 times the US limit. I think it was just about 2 to 3 years, just before the pandemic hit. So I think in 2018 this happened.
Oh my God. Right.
Example has been of H&M and Zara, again fashion brands among companies that were caught greenwashing over the years. These brands contribute to the massive amounts of textile waste caused by the clothing industry. In fact, H&M is, like we have seasons for fashion. H&M has 52 seasons. So every week they change the fashion and they don't use the products anymore. Okay, so shelve the products, they waste that product. So these are all greenwashing, and these companies are talking about, going green or being conscious companies or organic or using organic. There was another example I was seeing that a lot of, for example, a lot of things which the product is maybe made of sustainable products. The product is an eco-friendly product and has all the necessary certifications, but the packaging is not eco-friendly or green. So if the packaging is not green, then what is the use of the product being green? Because again, it becomes into that greenwashing thing. And to come to your exact question, Mr. Sandip, you asked that how can we prevent this, right?
Right.
First and foremost thing about, and it goes for many other things, is creating awareness. Number one is what is required is creation of awareness. That's one. Second is also having and getting proper certifications, checking on proper certifications, whether those are available. And third, and I'm again very sorry to say that, the third is to minimize consumption, because right now, even high amount of consumption is what something that the earth is not being able to match. That resource consumption is not being able to match. So these are the three things which I think will help.
In fact, I just add to. I just add to what you said. You know, like when I'm from the industry basically. You know, so I was in manufacturing, and there, we had a stricture that all packaging we had to make it from recycled paper, all packaging. I mean, to what? So, and that recycled paper were from mainly we got it from those mills which are using sugarcane bagasse. You know, from the sugarcane mill, they throw out the bagasse that after taking out the sugarcane thing, the juice out of it. So made from that. So that was one stricture that we had. And also for it was we were dealing in electronic products, so we had to accompany the product with a direction for use or an operating manual, and that had to be made from absolutely again recycled paper, which is something like the newsprint. So that was the stricture from Europe. We got it, so we could not deviate from there a little. So these are some of the things that one needs to, I think, look into, and that exactly the awareness level should be at the people who are in business. It should come from the top down approach.
Exactly. Exactly. It's always the TMT. TMT is the top management team. If the top management team has a buy-in, has policies in their place, in the mission of the company, everything falls in place. Exactly. Even for the consumers as well, small little things. For example, again, I mentioned that, you put me in a fix inviting me here because it's something I'm passionate about. So for example, even for the garments that we wear, okay, or we buy, the small little tags, okay, so the garment can be, maybe of cotton, maybe of organic cotton or whatever. But if the tag is of another mix of cotton, we won't, or even the thread is of another mix where, the tag is, they hang the tag, even then, there is something which is not right. So one has to be, so conscious consumerism is something which is not only from the production side, but conscious production, but also conscious consumerism is something which is a need of the hour right now.
Absolutely, and my understanding is that belief is that schools also can play a big role while teaching the kids. Because I know one such small kid who boarded a car, and he says you have to switch off the AC. Why? Because it's not environmental friendly.
Oh, my daughter used to do that, and oh God, and we are not right now in the habit. My daughter, even as a child, very young child, she used to do the same thing. That you have to put on the AC in the car, at home, and everywhere else.
Right. So I think really we can do a whole lot of things ourselves and with our children at home if we really train them properly, and the school teachers and others, if they take up the mantle, I think we can really do a lot for the benefit of the society or environment or sustainable development. So everything.
I completely agree, and I will just again add something here. I know Dr. Chatterjee is here, and I'm eagerly looking forward to hearing from him as well. So just one more thing, because the idea is very clear. Okay, so our generation, we have made quite a mess in our lifetime, right? About the things that we did and how we did and what we did and what we were thinking while doing it. So basically, it's very unfortunate that now the mantle actually lies with the youth. Young, because the future for them, we've not made it very, very easy for them in the future. So it's actually, it remains with the youth to make it brighter, to make it more beautiful for them.
Yeah.
And of course, right now we have surrendered to them that we will do whatever we can to make it, more progressive and better than what we are leaving it right now. Right.
Okay, right, Dr. Mitra, thank you so much. And now I will just go over to Dr. Chatterjee. I've heard him earlier in debating forums, debating circles, but I would like to hear from him the ethical part of the job that he does, and also overall society, because he's not only a very renowned doctor, but also enthusiast, wildlife enthusiast, and is a debater, and there are many other caps that he puts on. So, Dr. Chatterjee.
Thank you, Professor Sengupta, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. Though I must say that I have not got the qualifications of Dr. Nayan Mitra to talk about ethics in the way she does. In fact, I always say asking a professor of neurosurgery to talk about social ethics is a bit like asking your hairdresser to talk about brain. He may have a head start over the others in anatomical proximity to the subject that you're asking him to talk or not talk about, but depth remains a challenge for him. And so I think rather than try to talk about social ethics, of which I'm not an expert, and as little as I understand about social ethics is, the origin of the word ethics comes from the Greek word ethikos, which comes from the Greek word ethos, which means habit.
Yeah.
And habit refers to habit of moralizing concepts of right and wrong. And when we moralize concepts of right and wrong applicable to society as a large, in my very simplistic way, I think that's social ethics. But, I am, as you know, an expert in healthcare, and I'm not an expert in social ethics. And what provides the balance between healthcare, or the bridge, if I may say so, between healthcare and social ethics is public health ethics. And rather than go on talking about what Dr. Mitra has already illuminated you about, I thought I'll just share with you some feelings that I have on public health ethics. And what does public health ethics consist of? It basically consists of 5 main parameters, if you like. The first one is, it is based on the principle of avoiding harm to the majority of people, and yet producing maximum benefits to the majority of people. It consists of distributing benefits that we have in healthcare fairly and uniformly. It involves respecting autonomy, autonomous desires, and respecting liberty of action. And finally, it has to involve the policy of disclosing information that we, the scientific community, have honestly. And Professor Sengupta, during his introductory speech, talked about the fact that ethics is all about real life experiences. And I think public health ethics is really about real life experiences. And I don't know what you would like to ask me about, but if you really want me to tell you about where we are, because what Dr. Mitra told about greenwashings was pretty horrific. And I think makes us worry, not only as a people from a country, but people from a species. I think as a race, we should be pretty much worried about these greenwashings that we just heard her refer to. And I think if you want to know in public health what the ethics are, then I would say that what Dr. Mitra quoted to you is probably the tip of the iceberg. And I'll just share with you over the next 10 minutes, if Professor Sengupta thinks that's okay, what I would regard as public health ethics we've learned from the pandemic that we're still going through for the last 2 years. Forget everything else.
Right.
And if you look at public health ethics, it involves two things. As I said, it's something that you have to have concern for the rest of society. And who are the people that in this pandemic has concern for the rest of the society? Number one is, of course, the population of the planet. We, the Homo sapiens species that so proudly inhabit this earth of ours. And the second, so we are the people that have an ability to control our actions to preserve the planet, if you like, for want of any other words. And this is exactly what Dr. Mitra referred to. It is ultimately a question of sacrificing our individual greed and want to try and protect and preserve the planet for our next generations.
Absolutely.
And public health ethics is exactly about this. So who are the people that have been involved in public health ethics in this pandemic? We, the population at large, number one. Number two, of course, and very importantly, political people in power, because ultimately they have the authority to decide what should be done, what should not be done. And finally, sandwiched in between these two very powerful lobbies, the general population and the politicians happens to be the poor medical professionals in practice.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you what we've learned in the pandemic about public health ethics. What have we learned as a population? I think we've learned what I always say are the 3 H's that we did not give much attention to before. And you know what the 3 H's we learned in public health ethics during the pandemic? The 3 H's are humility, human values, and home. What did we learn about humility? I mean, the first thing we learned was a species which Dr. Darwin told us some years ago is the most evolved species to inhabit this solar system. We found that this species, the Homo sapiens, can be brought down to our knees by a brainless blob of RNA. And we had no control over our lives whatsoever. But we learned humility. We learned where we are lacking. We realized that we had spent billions of dollars in weapons to prevent a third world war. We had not invested 1/1,000,000th of that to try and avoid a viral pandemic, which would have killed far more and has indeed killed far more people on this earth than the 2 world wars combined. So I think one very important lesson of public health ethics we learned was humility as a population. The other thing we learned was, of course, human values. I think we learned to do more with less. We learned we don't have to crisscross the planet as professors to go and give lectures in different countries, in the process making gaping holes in the ozone layer around us. We learned we could sit at home, as we are indeed this evening, and give lectures and communicate with an audience without leaving the sanctity of our own homes. Of course, we learned other values. We learned that we can survive without going to the supermarket. We learned we can survive without taking the car and going to 100 malls and other places, and thereby further causing deterioration in our own environment. We learned we could stay at home and go out only when necessary. And although we did this because as a species we were united for the first time in a way in which no political, religious, social, or intellectual person had united our species before, we were united in a common thread of fear. And that was what united us and made us understand the human values. And finally, I think the third H we learned about as a population is home. We understood the value of home. We understood the value of those that are at home. And we understood the value of spending precious time at home with other members of the family. What did we learn as professionals? I think as professionals, and I said we were sandwiched between these two, the ethics of the population and the ethics of the politicians. And I'm here to tell you about the 3 things we learned as a profession all over this world were the 3 I's. The first I was incompetence. We learned we were completely incompetent. We knew nothing about this virus. So there we were telling people, get the newspaper, yesterday's newspaper, leave it at your doorstep for 24 hours. For heaven's sake, don't touch it. It's loaded with viruses. So read yesterday's newspaper tomorrow after sanitizing it with liters of sanitizers. Those of us that operated on patients, we were operating on human brains for 6-7 hours, wearing these so-called personal protective equipment, which were very thick things with double headgears, double foot gears, double gloves. And then we wore on top of that a sterile gown. So at the end of an operation, which lasted 6 hours, the surgeons were in far poorer health status than their patients were. And we needed a shower and we needed to rehydrate before we could think of doing another operation. But we knew all this was, we didn't know it, but it was useless because the whole medical community all over the world was guided by the Ebola virus. And this virus was completely different. All you needed to do was to cover your nose and your mouth. And it didn't matter what you had on your head or your feet, you would still be safe. But we were ignorant and incompetent, and we didn't realize this for many months of the pandemic. The second thing we learned as the medical professionals was our inefficiency. In this country, we learned that a country that can boast of IT, which it sells to the whole world, a country which can boast of business schools of the standard of yours, that everybody in the world knows about. In this country, where we can now send people to space, we do not have, or we did not have enough oxygen to help our citizens survive. And that was the inefficiency that we learned about as healthcare professionals. We learned that you needed to ferry oxygen from the southern part of the country to save people in the north because there wasn't enough oxygen produced there. But horrific thought that we didn't have enough oxygen. And finally, and I hate to say this, that as a group, we learned that we are irrelevant. We learned that for the scientific community, it is not enough just to propound the theories of science. It is useless unless you can convince your political masters about the necessity of implementation. And we saw how healthcare personnel from the United States of America to Africa to India tore their hair as they saw people disobeying all laws of public health ethics, congregating in social, religious, political gatherings because they were encouraged to do so, if dare I say, by their political masters. And finally, what did we learn about the public health ethics of people in power, the so-called politicians? We learned the 3 Ps that they work on, which is priorities, prevarication, and political bias. And priorities were clearly every decision about trying to stop the spread of the pandemic was based first on political necessity, then on scientific realism. In fact, this was the greatest and the most tragic public health expose of this pandemic. And in this country, and I hate to say this, but you may not be aware, but we had expert teams both at the central government and in the state government. And none of these expert teams had either an expert in virology nor an expert in public health medicine. And in this country, if you look at the top 20 virologists in this world, 10 of them come from India and probably 2 from Calcutta, but we have none of them as advisors to our political persona, both in the center and in the state. So this is not a political opinion, it is a scientific reality. And it also tells you where we are with public health ethics. And we also learned about prevarication. Prevarication, postponement, the second P of our political powers. Let's postpone it. Let's take a decision later. So we took a decision when already the die had been cast. So we had a lot of lockdowns, we had a lot of curfews, we had a lot of closures, but they all occurred after the virus had gleefully spread amongst lakhs of our citizens before we acted. And finally, of course, the political bias that is the greatest enemy of public health in a democracy, because decisions are taken not because of their scientific relevance, but because of their political necessity. And this is another major realization that we had about the healthcare ethics of the pandemic. So we learned a lot. And in the meantime, what has happened, and I'll just end by telling you this, just to show you how incompetent we are as a species. Here we were completely overwhelmed by this little blob of RNA. Then when we realized that it is descended upon us, and this is a reality, then all over the world, we started spending billions of dollars to try and produce a vaccine, which each country tried to claim was the best and the most suited for public health purposes in preventing infection. And then, just to put us fairly in place, nature unleashed this particular type of virus, the so-called Omicron, which spreads so viciously across this planet, and indeed is spreading so viciously across this city. There's nobody in my hospital who hasn't already been positive, including me. We realized that this was nature's way of telling us, this is the vaccination. This is the only vaccination that will work. And if everybody gets this Omicron, maybe that's going to end the pandemic and again put us fairly back in our spot, because we could not, in so many months, devise a better method of vaccination than nature has with this species. And as I say tongue-in-cheek, it is probably because the virus, by spending so much time in human proximity, has been humanized. So the virus has decided, like human beings, it wants to propagate and show its importance and spread very fast. And in the process, it has undergone a mutation that makes it more infective, but reduces its virulence. And maybe this humanization of the virus will be responsible for the end of the pandemic. But these are the lessons in public health ethics that we have as a species learned in the pandemic. And I'm going to stop here, and I'm very happy to take any questions.
Yeah. Actually, the questions that have come basically, and when we are talking about your 3H, 3I, and 3P, really it's so much of enlightenment that we have achieved. So it really enlightened us. While talking about the humility, human values, home is definitely, we are absolutely, all of us would really even with our little knowledge, we have understood that what these three things mean to all of us and how it really made us aware while in the pandemic. Now, coming to the 3 I's, I would like to ask them, there's a question that regarding the inefficiency of providing, say, in this case, the oxygen. There are reports that the oxygen plants were already been sanctioned in our state and as well as in Delhi, the reports that we came across, but which had not been really, which did not materialize because of, again, talking about your, the political will was not there. So what do you say about it? Supposing when we are talking about inefficiency and that in spite of the political, in spite of the experts asking for that, advising on that, the political will was not there. So how do you think we can bridge this gap? So have I been able to make you understand my question that I...
No, I understand that perfectly well. Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about oxygen. About oxygen, I have to tell you, we did not have a problem in this state because oxygen is one of the very few things that this state produces more than most other states in the country.
Okay.
And therefore, we really didn't have a problem. But there were a lot of problems in the northern states because most of the oxygen is produced either in the south or east. And obviously, then it became almost a political situation as to why I'm going to send my oxygen to save people in so-and-so state. particularly if my state is ruled by political party X and the state that needs the oxygen is ruled by political party Y. And of course, this forms, again, a very basic ethical issue, because we're trying to save the population as a whole. And they're talking about political or any other form of segmentation is terrible. You know, this is the biggest problem you're saying. I think the real thing is we have to correct ourselves as individuals, as citizens. So many people have been infected with the virus, particularly in its current form, the Omicron, and it's been a very mild infection. And they've thought, oh, now I've got it. What's the point of my staying home for 7 days? I'm perfectly fit. Let me just go out because I can't get it anymore. Not thinking that you're going to give it to 100 other people. And therefore, responsibility, you know, your own basic social responsibility means you should stay inside. It is because as a population and as a group of citizens, we did not show this sort of responsibility, that we allowed the so-called authorities that you talk about to do whatever they liked, you know, and we've seen, and I hate to say this, but there's a very interesting cricket test match going on, I believe, today. And I would say that even judicial authorities that stepped out of their crease to deliver judgments which were sort of very aggressively against the way the pandemic's been handled, we found they were stumped by wicket keepers in power being way out of their crease. And I'm not going to mention any names or take examples, but that's the truth. So you see, I think that what you say, the solution lies in us rectifying ourselves. Right. If we are responsible, then everybody in power becomes responsible as well. You know, this virus, as I say, is a very deeply religious virus, because it started off in this country by seizing, as you know, a particular Islamic gathering. Then it found that the people were going to bathe in the Ganges for the Kumbh Mela and decided to change its religious attraction. And then just a few weeks ago, it decided that it wanted to be a devout Christian and celebrate Christmas on Park Street by leaping all around the people that were maskless there. And I understand now it has decided to take a holy dip in the Ganga Sagar as well tomorrow. Yes. So, you know, the virus is taking advantage, and we are not able to control ourselves.
All right. So, Dr. Chatterjee and Dr. Mitra, I think we have really had a wonderful session today. We learned about greenwashing and how irresponsible people are. And while I mean many of the companies are, while trying to showcase something which is green activity, instead in other ways they were really not at all living up to the expectation of the planet or the public. We have also learned from you, Dr. Chatterjee, the A3H is humility, human values, and home. In fact, that's really, when you're telling delivering the talk, I really realized that how much of, each of them meant to us when we were in the pandemic shut at home. And then we also learned a lot about the incompetence, the inefficiency and irrelevance part, which you said, and and now I realize that absolutely to the last letter how it is true what you said. And this is something that we need to really propagate across. I mean, if we could tell all as public as a whole and be responsible for our own good, instead of putting all the responsibilities on our the so-called elected leaders. And again, the 3 P's you talked about, the priority, postponement, and political bias. It's absolutely only reason is political bias throughout. So that is something we learned from you, and maybe we knew it a little bit, but it's rekindled within us. So thank you so much. And in fact, if you see the so much of not only pandemic, so much of indiscipline or whatever you call it is going on. It's a lot to do with the political bias. If I hate to say so, but I believe that, because if had it not been for the many of our elected leaders, so things would have been much better possibly. It's my feeling. I may be wrong. So I don't know what others will say. So Dr. Chatterjee, thank you so much. It's really nice that you had taken out from your busy schedule. We know that how busy you are. I mean, and as our principal said, we would like to invite you after the situation normalizes and we are better off. Definitely would like you to visit our campus and meet our students in faculty, and they'll be too happy to meet you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I will
So I
certainly
would,
look forward.
in this, I would request one of our students here, Tanya is here. Tanya, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
I would request Tanya to give the vote of thanks here. Tanya, right.
I bid a very good evening to everyone present here. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the entire fraternity of CBS. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the core committee members, especially Mr. Saurav Ghosh, Senior Advisor of the Shiksha Foundation, Mrs. Bratati Bhattacharya, Secretary General and CEO, Shiksha Foundation, and our principal sir, Dr. Pinaki Ranjan Bhattacharya, for giving us the best of the opportunities. I extend my gratitude and thanks to all the panelists present here today, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee and Dr. Nayan Mitra. And special thanks to the moderator, Professor Siddhartha Sengupta sir. With a deep sense of gratitude, I would like to thank all the professors, faculty members for always encouraging us in adding value to the education imparted at CBS. Also, I would like to thank our technical team, officers, and staffs, as we are fortunate enough to be backed by such a team for helping to conduct this webinar smoothly. And last but not the least, thanks to all of you who are attending the webinar and the viewers who are watching it live on Facebook. We appreciate your involvement and thank you for sparing the valuable time for the session. We are sure that by participating in the session, you have gained useful knowledge. Thanks for being our biggest support system. Thank you all very much. With the hope of meeting all of you very soon again, I wish you all a great and healthy life on behalf of the Institute. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee. Again.
Thank you very much.
Again. Sunil. Madhushri, thank you. Professor Majumdar, thank you. We'll leave now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
It
you.
was a wonderful session, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Very good speakers, both of them.